So we're seeing some of the high leverage late longs currently getting flushed out of the market right now as we speak. We'll talk about this in today's show. We'll have a look at some trade setups. Is this providing an opportunity for those who were sitting on the sidelines, right, to get reallocated into the market, this current flush that we're seeing? We'll have a look at those trade setups. We'll also have a look at what's most likely to happen over the course of the weekend, and then just one or two things that you need to be careful of leading into next week. So smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get immediately into it. Hourlies are pulling back. Dailies are still holding up pretty well, right? Because there has been some big moves. I mean, literally look at that. WorldCoin up 23% still on the day. Virtual's up 10%. Pepe up almost 12%. Injective 12%. WIF up 11%. It's almost as if people forgot what happened with the wreckage and the carnage around meme coins, because they are bouncing back very decently over there. And if you look over here on the total liquidations, what you're seeing over here right now, there's of course late longs right now that are getting flushed, because if you look at the last hour, 15 million, and that's pretty much over 90% of those are longs, with 14.7 million getting wrecked and only $686,000 worth of shorts getting wrecked within the market. So where are things most likely to go next? Why are we seeing a little bit of a pullback? I think first and foremost, it's just simply going to be a lot of volatility within the market as prices break to new all-time highs. People look to reposition, people look to rotate into altcoins, and you get a lot of high leverage DJ and apes coming into the market, and consequently that drives those big moves, right? As volatility expands and as the market goes higher and higher, the swings become larger and larger. Consequently, your best bet is to usually reduce the leverage and the amount of risk that you're putting on the table. Whereas the majority of retail traders, what they tend to do is they tend to slap on and pile on and paste on more and more risk, bigger and bigger position sizes towards the end of the cycle, as opposed to doing the exact inverse of that, which means at the beginning of the cycle, which is the end of the bear market, beginning of the bull market, when Bitcoin was around $16,000 to $18,000, that's when you should have been piling on the risk all in. Now is not really the time where you should be going all in. I know not everyone wants to hear that, but that is ultimately the truth as we do continue to move through the end phases of the market cycle, right? Another reason is because I think there's a little bit of fear around the stock market pulling back over here. And this is something we highlighted live as price was trading over here. We said, watch this trend line with the pent-up liquidity and expect that you could put in a pullback. You've already played out a decent part of that move, and we're targeting down into this gap over here. So as it currently stands, you put out about almost 2% of that move, and we're looking for at least equilibrium of that gap over there, which is the 3.8% move, meaning you've done most of it, right? You've got about another 2.29% to go, and then we want to see if the stock market can hold that and start to bounce, right? So those are some of the key levels that we're looking at. As for gold over here, we were hunting the potential for weakness coming into this trend line and possibly even a short trade over there, but I would definitely not be taking that short trade, because you can see the way price action is unfolding over here. This does look more likely that it wants to break out. The next level of interest to look for weakness, and again, this is just simply because all one big trade, right? If you look for weakness over there in particularly gold, it will provide a lot of valuable information as to what may potentially come next. So since gold is coming towards the upside over here, or pushing up, you are seeing a little bit of weakness in the short term from risk on assets, and this does look like it's set to move back towards the 0.786 and 0.886 level for the gold. That puts it at a price level of 3,434 and up to 3,465. So around that 3,450 level, if it is going to reject, that would be the next level where you want to look for weakness. If it's going to break out, well, then you expect it to reclaim this level, and then it's going to continue to mark up into those all-time highs, right? DXY is still holding underneath this range low level, so we want to see acceleration towards the downside. That's all looking good. And then Bitcoin dominance over here, I think this is the question on everyone's mind, because this will ultimately determine, is it going to be full-on risk on back into the markets where everything pumps, or are we going to be going risk off? So these are one of the charts that you need to look at. This is one of the things that I wanted to highlight. Is this simply just going to be a high-low and continuation high on Bitcoin dominance? If so, expect a big flush within the market. You're going to see things come down quite significantly. If this is going to be a lower high over here, which mean pretty simply you have your invalidation in the short term above these local highs. If you can see continuation today and over the course of the weekend, that could be a lower high, and that's going to create a lot of excitement within the crypto market and some fun times. Now, what I've personally done is I still have the long trades on the table, but I'm very, very, very tight in validations because it's not really the time to be piling on massive amounts of risk. So therefore, my worst case scenario is that I always get stopped out with zero loss, right? Slight profit to cover the trading fees. And ultimately, I'm giving the market the opportunity, if it does want to break out, it can break out. And I'll obviously play those trades towards the upside. I'll share those trades with you in just a minute, right? As for the total cryptocurrency market cap, this is an important one to look at because this determines is more and more money coming into the market. And I mean, you can see over here, of course, we do have, you know, this expanding wedge over here. You have price having come and respected these levels. I guess we can tighten that up ever so slightly since we had that wick that held over there. And what you're looking at right now is for this to have strong trend continuation. All you want to see is this week pretty much close green, and then next week that's going to be on validation below this week's low. Because if you look at this week's candle did trade lower than last week's candle. I know it's a little bit difficult to see, so we'll use the magnet over there and we'll mark it off, and we'll just make that nice and small. There it is. If you have a look at that white line, we temporarily traded slightly below. That's your swing failure pattern. As soon as you got back above, this started to move towards the upside. Therefore, next week, you can move this down to that wick low, which is 3.17 trillion. Basically, the bullish bias would be as long as you maintain above 3.17 trillion, you expect trend continuation and price moving onwards and upwards. And any pullbacks in between would simply be chop, right? On the total cryptocurrency market cap. It's going to be exactly the same thing when you look at total 2, invalidation below this week's low, total 3, invalidation below this week's low. You can see this one also swept that level pretty significantly over there. There's the last week's candle. You swept that at 861 billion and then started to move towards the upside, right? Others, exactly the same thing, right? So others have still got quite a lot of work to do relative to what we've seen in the rest. I mean, that could mean that there is still an opportunity for that Bitcoin dominance to break down, and then you can really start to see things moving, right? So, you know, ultimately, if you did get that kind of a move, that would be absolutely massive. We'd see huge amounts of capital added into the crypto market. You'd be looking at adding, meeting somewhere around the top of this trend line. This yellow line was our timing expectation for the most probable outcome for top of cycle. And that would be adding on 272 billion onto the market cap, right? Which is almost doubling it, which 100% move. So right now we're holding the long trades over here. It's getting dangerously close to the entry, which is where my stop loss is slightly above. I'm in a massive 100x long trade over here, 211% up. So I'm going to continue to hold that. That's on Ethereum. I'm hoping that obviously price is going to find support before these lows over here, and it's going to actually hold up over there. But if I get stopped out, it's okay. We just look for the next trade opportunity. There's nothing, nothing lost and nothing gained over here. Basically, just back to break even on this trade. So that is ETH. I also have the same trade set up over here. This is, of course, using on Femex. So we're actually using the ETH as collateral. So we margin long on ETH, which means we're getting paid extra in ETH as price goes up. I also have a stop loss over there. And then yesterday in Whale Room, I dropped a couple of extra trades. We took about, 7 or 8 of them. And okay, I just got logged out. Apologies for that. But Aptos is up and XRP is still up massively. I'm not going to log back in over here. It just logged me out. The trades were all dropped over here in Whale Room. So we'll relook some of these. If you do want these trades, guys, smash the like button. It's greatly appreciated. And if you want to gain access to all of this information, it's not only me that's in here, but we have a whole bunch of different traders. Use the link in the description below. It'll take you through to Whale Room over there. There's the link in the description below. If you click on that, it will open up this page. You can see we have a pretty high rating over here with what do we got? 4.75 stars over there in Whale Room. So if you do want to join in over there, that is a family for you of traders. All right, continuing on. Now, this is the other thing that we need to be cautious of, right? So we spoke about a couple of things to be cautious of. One is gold. If gold starts to break out, it could be a sign that people are moving risk off once again, as the bond market seems to be under massive pressure, right? That's probably going to be the biggest theme. If we start to see prices pull back, it's going to be everything around the bond market is breaking, right? Therefore, people are going risk off and gold is moving towards the upside. technical analysis wise, because they always say trade the chart that's in front of you. The chart in front of us right now is crypto and Bitcoin. Therefore, we don't want to see a deviation back into this trend. I'm going to raise this white line that I have over here. It means that you must at all costs remain above this white line over here. And maybe we can just lock that in. Let's just lock that in so that it shows on the right hand side. Where is that price level? Okay, 109,261, right? That is where that top was put in. We don't want to see a swing failure pattern, meaning a candle close underneath that. If we do, it does, shout trouble. And the other thing that is happening, which we outlined already months ago, I thought price would actually be trading a lot higher by the time the RSI actually hits this level. But right now, it's still anticipated that Bitcoin could make it into that $120,000 to $130,000 region, which is really not far from here, right? And if you do, you're going to meet this trend line over here. And when you meet this trend line, that, if it does reject, would confirm triple bearish divergence, right? So this is something serious that we have to talk about. Like it's actually a real thing. If we consolidate into this level, if you see Bitcoin put in an absolutely face melting move and it consolidates and chops here, creating a bull flag, no problem. This will probably break through and then it's a thing of the past and it's of no concern. But as it currently stands right now, I do believe that this is something we need to pay attention to, especially since we've had so many candles in a row towards the upside. How many have we had? You can see over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And usually we know the 𝗪𝗪𝗧 9 count over there. If we've done 7 and we continue, for another 2 weeks, you're going to start to meet that area, right? Which is going to be $123,000 to $130,000. And that's potential resistance. And then at least you're looking for a bit of a pullback, right? Overextended moves should be met with a pullback. Maybe you see something like that. And the bull run does actually continue, right? A sweep back below $100,000, somewhere around there. We'll cross that road when it gets there, right? Point is, you need to remain cautious, right? You need to protect your capital and you need to take the trade that's in front of you and move stops to break even as soon as you possibly can so that you don't lose any money, right? That's all that is. That's what you want to do. Keep your finger on the pulse of the market, right? So if we look at the short-term bubble risk though, well, this is indicative that the cycle could still persist for a long period of time, which is why I'm open to the possibility of price hitting this level, putting in a short-term pullback, maybe consolidating around those all-time highs, around $100,000, reaccumulating, putting in a high-low, and then continuing, right? Because as per the short-term bubble risk, well, we've actually never seen price action ever top before putting in at least 1.75 or higher on the risk metric scale over here. You can see each of the prior tops occurred in that environment. Whereas if you currently look at where we're at right now, we still only in the green, right? So we only just entered back into the green, which is 1.25 on the risk metric. And if we look, I think more recently, how many times have we put in within this particular cycle, anything that is 1.75 or 2? And the answer is 0. We've had no overheated territory. The highest that we've seen was 1.5 to 1.75 on the short-term bubble risk scale, right? So, it could mean diminishing returns. It could mean that retail interest has died off and this is an institutional bid. And we're not really seeing all of that within this information. Or it could mean that a lot of retail are still going to come back and we're actually going to play out just like before, right? At the end of the day, I think it's important that each person take responsibility for their own trades and remain somewhat cautious, right? Somewhat cautious to protect capital towards the end of the cycle. So that is pretty similar to the weekly chart that we have on Bitcoin. We said really the white line is the level to hold above, around that 109,300, 109,200. You don't want to see any swing failure pattern or breaking below. Otherwise, that constitutes as a deviation, and then you need to start to look for a deeper pullback, which again could be just below $100,000 where you find support, which doesn't sound like much, but when Bitcoin drops from top to bottom to fall under $100,000, that's over a 10% move. Altcoins would drop, could be 20, 30, 40% for some of them, right? And therefore, if you're in a high leverage position, you're going to blow your entire account. And you can see there is liquidity stacked below 105,000. This is a bit of a trading range that's forming over the last 3-day look-back period. Let's quickly check the 12-hour look-back period. So a little bit of liquidity there, a little bit of liquidity above. Definitely, you can see even in terms of the poll that I just put up over here, what is your current market exposure in terms of your capital reserve for crypto, right, that you've put into the market. And you can see 61% of the audience are mostly fully allocated, right now. Therefore, you always have to look to when the market becomes crowded. I don't think it's a crowded market on the long side yet, but I do think it's starting to get crowded, which means that it won't last long in a crowded environment, and then you start to mean revert in the opposite direction. And that's what I actually wrote about this morning. If you do want to go and have a look in the Whale Room Discord over there, I did a whole write-up on some of the risk things that we need to look out for coming into Monday and exactly why. So for those of you in there, you would have already seen that. All right, let's continue. Okay, another thing that we're looking at over here is the deltas, right? Very, very, very positive deltas. Look at that. Bitcoin, highly positive. ETH positive. Sol positive. POPCAT positive. And Sonic positive over there. The only one that's negative is, of course, SUI, and that's got to do with the hack, right? I don't know if you saw that. Their DEX, CETUS got hacked. I don't know how much it was. I think it was like 200 million or something dollars. But because of that hack, there's been a bit of chop and negative at least vibe around SUI. So SUI's come down. We'll relook the SUI price chart as well, so that you guys can at least see, if for those of you that are holding SUI, what's most likely going to happen next, right? Now, the thing is, when you look at these deltas, the deltas suggest, are market participants mostly long or short, right? What side of the trade are they taking? Well, we can see which side, right? At least by you guys. 61% of you are max long. 16% of you are almost max long. And then only 14% of you are not max long, right? You're basically in a cash position, maybe you're full-time traders, and you're just like kind of watching the market in, out, in, out, in, out, the way that I've mostly been playing it as of late, right? So the thing is with the deltas, right? The deltas are very, very, very useful when the market is caught within a trading range. The deltas are not useful to look at to form a bias when the market is in a powerful trend. If the market's in a strong uptrend, of course, the deltas will remain positive because bulls remain in control, and therefore you have a bid within the market, a consistent bid, and you'll constantly reset it, but it'll never really go red, right? So that's why you need to pay attention to this, because if you do deviate this, then the answer may be that you're still range bound, right? And then you could revisit at least the mid-range, which would be a drop back down just below $100,000. That would be your mid-range support coming in at about 92. I'm not saying that's going to happen, guys, but that's the way that you would interpret this data, right? So same thing over here, telling us the same story on the daily chart. The bias, which we said, is fully long, so long as you can remain above the day before yesterday's low, which is going to be Wednesday's low, right? You can't see price action drop below Wednesday's low, or that does confirm the deviation. So what you may see is you may see a little bit of a scare. You may see price chop around over there. And I would say that you'd actually be lucky to get that, because that becomes a bidding opportunity where, again, you can still maintain that stop loss just underneath, and you can start to target higher prices, most notably between $120,000 and $130,000. Those become the areas of interest, right? So as it currently stands, when you look at Bitcoin over here, the good news as well is that this move that occurred towards the upside was volume backed, right? That's a good thing, right? Volume came into the market. So I'm pretty happy to see that. And we know that we also had a little bit of an uptick in the daily exchange volume, right? So putting in the potential for a high low, which means continuation of the move, there is real money that's backing it. Okay, so let's just quickly see over here in terms of our RSI, 110,000. We'll just quickly reset that. So 110,230 is the RSI pivot level over there, which means bulls really, really have to fight hard to keep price above that yellow line. And as long as they do, the RSI will keep moving towards the upside, which means bulls maintain control. Remember, the short trade is just lingering there. It's not active. There is no active short trade. The short trade would be active if you put in a swing failure pattern and deviated below. Then you would execute the short trade. You know, we can adjust the risk to reward over there, and stop losses would go above the highs. We have not done that. There is no active short trade. I just want to be clear before people start trying to FUD me in the comments. I don't know. I didn't look at the comments. Maybe people are FUDding me in the comments for seeing that. Right now, the long trade is active, which we already mentioned way back over here at 105,000, that you were going to get an imminent breakout above these highs. So if you do deviate that level, understand that you have a picture perfect trend line in play over here. The break of that trend would be your first sign that you're deviating, right? If you start to break that white trend line over there. Any of you can draw this on your charts on the daily time frame. You know, you're just connecting as many touch points as possible without breaking any of the bodies of the candle. So right now, as it stands, that looks pretty good. Bulls need to maintain above again Wednesday's low. As long as they do that, bullish bias remains. If you break Wednesday's low, you break the upsloping trend line, you deviate back into the range. And again, I highlighted specifically in Discord, if you go in there, why you need to look out for that specifically coming up on Monday, right? Okay, cool. Next, we have USDT dominance, which has also driven the majority of our bias. So, you could start to see price bouncing very, very soon from here because this is respecting these levels, right? You can see it just looks like bear flag after bear flag on the lower time frames. You put in the big move down, you consolidate, chop, 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 chop. As long as you don't get back above this white line of 4.4%, the bias remains that we should see USDT dominance move towards the yearly open. And if it moves towards the yearly open, most altcoins will move towards their yearly open, which is higher up, right? USDT dominance down equals altcoins and other coins, or Bitcoin and other coins moving towards the upside, right? So this down equals everything else in the market towards the upside. If this goes up, obviously we're in trouble, right? If this deviates and reclaims, that would look like a big deviation. And then you're going to have a big bull trap on your hands. But then we would switch to the short trade. So all in all, that looks good, right? That looks good over there. Everything is fine. We're still waiting for the yearly open. We're getting very, very, very close. All right. If you want to track your trades, an easy way to do that is just put on the 50 and 200 EMA on the hourly time frame because price is moving fast. Usually I would track the 4-hour time frame. But because price is moving pretty quickly, we'll use something as low as the hourly. And this is the full send level for ETH, right? I said as long as ETH remains above the full send level with multiple candle closes, which we can show you on the daily time frame. Right now, we've only had one candle, right? If we can start to get 3 candles above the full send level, then I would expect massive expansion over here. So what I'm most inclined to believe is that this was probably just a shakeout. So if you start to see this candle closing green today, you're going to have massive excitement leading into the course of the weekend. And then you best want to know what to do next, right? The guys in Whale Room know exactly what the plan is next if we do get that move over the course of the weekend, right? That's what we're waiting for. So at the moment, I'm just tracking it on the lower time frames with the 50 and 200 EMA. The reason I'm talking a lot about ETH is because I'm clearly positioned in ETH and have been for quite some time. But you can do the same thing for Bitcoin. As long as it keeps holding above those EMAs, things are looking decent over there. Let's check XRP. Perfect retest into that. Remember, we are long on XRP. We took that massive 50x long live yesterday on the Crypto Live channel, right? Let's see Solana also above it, so it's holding up. Sui, interesting. Okay, it's lost it. Will it reclaim? Sui's been a crazy chart. Look at this liquidity hunt here, right? Look at that massive wick. I mean, this is absolutely unreal, guys. This dropped 17%. And this had nothing to do with the hack, by the way. This was the hack. This is the hack over here. This is just like some liquidation hunt. And it's on most exchanges, right? I thought it was isolated to one. This is Binance, the biggest exchange in the world. So this was actually the hack over here, which is a reminder, be safe out there, guys. Firstly, I've been in whale school, right? We do the workshops and then I interact with you guys and we get chatting and everything. And people keep saying, so it's not you that's messaging me. Of course, guys, we don't have time to message you guys independently or individually and say like, how's your day going? How's your trading? You think we have time for that? If anyone is contacting you, it is 100% a scammer. Block them immediately. I don't know, report it to authorities. Do what you need to do. The easiest way to not get scammed is never, ever, ever give your money to anyone. Take different measures and approaches. Like literally, do you know how many different wallets I have, crypto wallets and things like that to protect all of my crypto? I'm very, very diversified in that regard. And the other thing you need to do is protect your IP. Get a NordVPN. We are partnered with NordVPN as well, right? There's a link in the description below over here. If you go into the description and you click on that, they're giving you a 73% off, right? So there it is. 74%, actually 74%. It's like less than the price of a coffee. So malware protection, remote file access, dark web monitoring, hide your IP address from these scammers. It makes it a bit more difficult for them. Anyway, continuing on, let's have a look at some of the altcoins, right? So these are a couple of the setups that I gave. I'm going to give some of them to you guys for free. Remember, they were all dropped over here in the Whale Room Discord ahead of time. How many did I drop? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I took all 6 of these. I moved very, very tight stops in place in case of a flush. I got taken out of all of them except Aptos. So I might look to re-enter into some of these trades, right? And you guys will have the same opportunity to do so. All right, so what are the trades? What are the trades? Let's quickly go back over here. So one is 𝗬𝗎. I'm not too concerned about this move that's recently occurred in 𝗬𝗎 around the hack. In fact, I think that there's a good chance that it's an opportunity. So the way that I'm viewing it is I would be targeting about 50% of this wick, right? We do the 𝗦𝗫𝗴𝗵 strategy. It's a common strategy that I teach in Whale School and use myself. And I mean, maybe that's already it, but maybe you're going to come down a little bit lower. So you need to leave some room. If you see something like that, markets hate inefficiencies. When you see a big move like that, either a large candle, abnormal sized candle, or an abnormal sized wick, that shouts inefficiency. You measure it out. You measure out the equilibrium, also known as the 50% level, and it comes in at $3.51. So if there is a leverage flush, you know, sometime maybe next week, maybe leverage builds up over the course of the weekend, and you see another move down over here, mark that level off, right? $3.51 is, I think, is a decent zone for 𝗬𝗎. And the moves are pretty simple, right? So this is giving you a very favorable, you know, if you took it right over here, you can, of course, get a much more favorable trade entry. If you drop it down there, you're getting 5.3 to 1 risk to reward. But let's leave it as the more conservative approach, which would be entering in over here and leaving a pretty wide stop loss, right? That's giving you a 2.4 to 1 risk to reward ratio simply by just trading that back towards the previous highs, right? Let's switch back onto the daily. There it is. That's just by trading it to the previous highs. If you believe that there is going to be an alt season and things are going to break out in a big way, well, then you can look at this risk to reward, which means you just maintain the trade, right? Just continue to hold the trade. And that's now giving you a very favorable 6.18 to 1 risk to reward ratio, right? So that is over there on 𝗬𝗎, right? And use the lower time frames. I always encourage you guys, use the lower time frames to get a little bit more information. You know, just check things out over there, see how things are looking. So, you know, maybe you're going to put in a bit of bullish momentum coming in over there on the hourly time frame. Maybe you get bullish divergence over here. If you put in a lower low, if you see something like that on the hourly, you have a chance to put in some bullish divergence. So keep an eye out for these things on the low time frames. To learn how to do all of this, you need to be in an active trading group, right? Like Whale Room. That's where we actually discussed all of the actual execution for the trades yesterday. All right, another one to look at is Solana, right? So Solana, I think conservatively, you can trade it back towards the highs if everything is going to run. And if you get a really strong aggressive move, then you have a measured move off of this rectangle, which happens to line up with the 1.618 fib extension. And that will take this chart all the way up to about $417, right? We don't want to talk about those insane targets yet. For now, we take it one step at a time. And one step at a time means that basically you'd be looking for your entry somewhere around here. You know, if this is really the start of a trending move, you know, yesterday I entered in over here. I did get stopped out. You can basically start to look for another opportunity. That's just because I put super tight stops, right? So looking on this time frame, I mean, I would probably take this trade, right? We'll talk about the Pinex bots as well. I think I may even re-enter into this one as well. This was on BERA chain. I'm going to allocate about 10% into that account. Okay, there we go. And then let's also take you guys don't have to do it. It's up to you. But I'm going to take the SOL position as well. SOL USDT, pretty much right over here. I'm happy to take that trade. And let's just switch this to isolated. Okay, I'm taking this trade on Pinex where all the bots are. I'll update you on the bots as well, guys. I'll update you also on the bots in a minute. So let's put in 10% of that account over there. All right, so we got those two trades running. This is on top of all the different bots, right? Our bots are cooking, absolutely cooking. Now, I saw in the pre-show, in the comments, there was a couple of you that were actually asking about these bots, right? Remember, there's one link now. So you can copy any of these bots. It will always show which ones are active, right? If you click that link. So let's just quickly go to the link in the description over here. Go through to Pinex. Where's the Pinex ones, right? Pinex. I don't see Pinex. Is the Pinex ones there? Hardest, do you know if Pinex is there? Because we need to put the Pinex bots there. I think they put the wrong stuff. Please, can you just put the Pinex bots in? There will be a link that will be added over here, which will give you access to it. If you go through to that link, this is what it's going to show you. These are currently the active trades that I have, right? It says there, Banter, Kyledoops, future grid bots, right? You asked, will we be opening some more? Yes, I'll be opening some more. For now, we're taking some individual trades on here as well, but we will be opening some more. So I've given you that trade. And this is pretty much, as long as it keeps tracking this, I'll manage it throughout today. That is on Solana. What other ones did we have? Okay, let's see. What other ones did we have over here? We had, let's just quickly check on Sonic. Sonic is looking okay, but on the daily, I didn't like that. It broke down with a new swing low. We had Near. Near was a really good one. Let's just quickly go into the daily there for Near. So basically, you know, you're looking at this as a potential high low deviation back into the trading range, and you're simply just trading this back to the range highs over there. So I think as long as you see Near holding up over here, it's a decent trade. Let's check it out on this chart over here. Just line things up and see how it looks. Okay, I mean, it needs to continue to maintain above this 50. Some of the momentum oscillators are still coming down. Let's just see the hourlies. How's the hourly looking over here? It's okay. Hourly is okay. 4 hour. I mean, this would need to have been a leverage flush, and you need to see this 4 hourly candle start to close up in 41 minutes, a little bit higher than that. Okay, 15, we covered 5 minutes. 15, let's just double check the 15. Okay, we'll keep an eye out on this one. I want to see a reclaim of their 5-minute time frame. Okay, I'm going to hold off on Near for a bit. I'm not going to take the Near trade. I'll wait for a little bit of a tighter entry. I think I might get a little bit lower over there. But that's another one to look at. If you want the rest of those, they are in here, right? All the other ones that are dropped, Aptos is looking good. Now, another thing that you can do, if we do put in a big leverage flush, remember to use the site, velo.xyz/chart, and look at your relevant chart on the hourly time frame. Oftentimes in these trending moves on the hourly time frame, the lows will be set in. You'll form like this range low, and it'll always be set. I've covered this now every day now for a week when the deltas flip negative, right? As those deltas flip negative, chances are that is the low of the range. And then you can start to sculpt that towards the upside, right? These are providing, like if you look over here on ETH, we can look at each of those moves. You know, that was a 5.6% move. This one over here, and we're not cherry picking the low. I'll go from the closing candles, 10% move, right? Very, very, very nice. What about this one over here? Again, not cherry picking the candles. We'll go from the wicks to here, 10% move. Big moves, right? What happens to your account if you add 10% over and over and over again, right? It doubles over time. It doubles. Hardest, give me a thumbs up. Are you getting the Pinex thing? Is it there? Let me refresh. Let's quickly see if the Pinex links are there quickly. So there it is. Okay, we have Pinex, we have Blowfin, we have Pinex. It's there. Remember, guys, Blowfin as well, no KYC required if you do want an exchange to trade on. And there's the Pinex bot. So when you click that, copy Kyle's strategies, because I keep getting this, I'm only mentioning this because I keep getting the question over and over. Are the trades still open? If you want to know if the trades are still open, when you click that link, it will show you everything, right? It will show you all the open trades that I have will be here. So if I close WIF now, it won't be on this list anymore. So save that link, right? That's all you have to do. Save that link. All right. What else? What else, guys? Let me know in the comments. Let's have a look at some of the other sectors and coins, right? Okay, let's check out some of the other sectors. Let's scroll down a little bit. How are things looking over here? Real world assets. Okay, real world assets got heavily cooked on some of these. TokenFi down heavily. Rio down massively over there. Absolutely smashed. But you know, if this can start to form a base, look at that. I mean, that's like bear market levels, right? Look at that. Let's just clean this up. I'm curious, how far down did this come? We have to reset and redraw some of this. I mean, that's full reset kind of stuff. So from the high on Realio, bear market stuff, 96% down, while Bitcoin's in a bull market. It's unreal. So a bit of work to be done over here. Ondo, this has been, of course, one of the strongest ones. We did highlight when it was coming into here for potential buy and break of structure. And on top of that, you know, you're reclaiming this range level. So this one looks pretty decent, right? Higher highs and high lows on Ondo. Ondo seems to be taking the limelight away from Mantra, which got cooked, right? All the way down. The real world asset sector is interesting to me because they are actually doing real things. I mentioned this before. I think I saved a tweet over here. Let me just see. It was on, there we go, on Multibank, right? The Multibank group. These are a behemoth giant when it comes to, they come from TradFi sector and have now recently moved into crypto. These guys are releasing a token. I mean, you can check it out in June. I think it's coming out. So mid-year. Have a look at when the token launches. These guys, $3 billion worth of ultra luxury Dubai real estate now on chain, right? And it's powered by MBG, which is going to be a multi-chain group. And they actually have real world things that they're actually doing, which is amazing to see on chain, that some of these things are actually taking place, right? So definitely real utility from day one for a lot of these guys. We'll put on the watch list at a later stage, right? They're definitely not startups anymore. Okay, let's have a look at Mantra. Cooked. Remember I said I wouldn't be trying to catch a falling knife over here. I don't think that this is going to recover. We made a lot of money. You can still see our things are listed over here, right? This was our first buy, second buy, right? And this was our first buy. So we rode this thing up massively. And I did mention, so if you consider that was our average cost, this was 2,322% when I mentioned this for the first time down here. We're buying in between this range breakout over here. Backtest, 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 ran it up. And I was one of the few publicly who said, personally, I'm exiting. I think this thing's manipulated, but towards the upside, which is fair enough, right? We made money on the way up and got out. C-Pool. Okay, how's C-Pool looking? We also need to clear this up a little bit. We met our measured moves on all these targets from way back, which is wonderful. There it is. Broke out. Now we need to redraw these charts, right? So C-Pool still respecting that range low, right? That's clearly a range low over there. Let's just see how it lines up in terms of a potential range high. Let's make that a little bit tighter. There we go. I just want to see if those previous rejective points, there you go, you can see meet up more or less with the mid-range. Okay, so it's been respecting those levels. So you can just divide that up into range quarterlies as well, and that pretty much becomes your next major resistance, 22 cents. 22 cents. Look, I definitely wouldn't be buying this now. Of all of these real-world assets, I would mostly be looking at ONDO, and then, of course, eventually when Multibank comes out with their token. All right. Let me know in the comments, guys. What else? What else? SPX 6900. Let's have a look at it. Where I literally think I had that tweet. This is absolutely crazy. This guy he's gone full turbo. Guys, he's gone full turbo over here. This is Murad. I don't think the sound will play, but you should go and look at his videos. Hardest, can I play the sound? Give me a thumbs up. Will they hear it? Okay, that you guys are not going to hear it. We have to set it up in a certain way to hear it, but you can go and look at his Twitter. I mean, I'll just play it over here. This guy's, he's gone full cult-like, which is what he wants, right? Cult-like following, but he's looking like a cult leader to me. Look at it, 100%. That looks like somebody that's a cult leader. I'm surprised that he didn't rebrand his shirt to SPX 6900. Anyway, let's not digress too much. Let's go look at SPX 6900 over here. SPX 6900. All right, here we have it. Let's see. Are you destined for the moon? I mean, look, it's moving. It is moving, right? We need more chart history. Let's pull up the other one over here. Let's get the OG one over here. So SPX 6900. We need the proper one with all the chart history. Wait, SPX, we missed the S. Okay, SPX 6900. Must be this one, right? 6 months ago. No, that's baby SPX. It's this one, 1 year ago. SPX on Sol 6900. I think that's a contract address. Let's just double check the pricing. Okay, 85 cents, right? 85 cents over there. No, this is not the one. Okay, guys, wait, we have to do this properly because I'm deadly curious what this coin looks like for real with the full chart history. SPX 6900. Let's just get the contract address. All right. We'll get the contract address over here. Okay, I mean, there's your chart history. Like it's not that bad. I'm not gonna lie. It's really not that bad. Okay, here it is. This is the one. So it's actually on ETH. I don't know why I thought this one was on Solana. Okay, full chart history. Let's go on the weekly. All right. look, whoever accumulated over here, I guess they're not selling. So that's the first bit of good news. Like anyone who capitulated out of this already capitulated. So yeah, I mean, like you clearly have a bit of a range low that's formed over here. It's not bad. That's kind of the level that you want to hold. I would just trade this level to level. The problem is that you have to be in so early on these things to have it worthwhile to take the risk, right? If you want to get, you know, a little bit of bullish hopium, you can look at some of those fib extensions. If this does break out to new all-time highs, you know, this is what you're looking at, right? A move up to the 1.618. Percentage-wise, what would that give you from here? And this is why I say what I say, which is that like you have to get in so early for it to be worth the risk, because that's a 215% move. Like, I don't know, it's not good enough for me personally. I'd rather just buy something else that in my opinion is way less risky. Like for this thing to cook now sitting at, you know, almost $1 billion market cap, you're looking at 3.618 fib extension to get to 592. I mean, just take it as it comes, right? I would prefer to establish like, you know, a low leverage entry as opposed to putting all my capital into this trade and then just kind of like monitoring it and scaling it up with leverage as price moves high and reclaims the level. Like if this can move to the 1.618 and it can reclaim and hold that, then you start to target the next level, which is the 2.618. Hold that, and then you can go to the 3.618, right? And I'll just take it level to level. That's all you can do right now. It's just too risky to be believing in something, as Murad would tell you. All right. Cool, guys. Let me know in the comments what else. You know, tomorrow as well, I will be doing a show where we can go through a whole lot of altcoin requests. So please look out for the link. There is a chance that I'll do it on the other channel. You know, if you, again, guys, if you do want those bots, you know where to find it. The Pionex bots are below. We did just take these trades. We instantly in profit, no drawdown, which is amazing. We'll reopen a couple more. I'll monitor this. I'll update all of you in Whale Room regarding those trades as well as we manage them. I'll probably give it a bit of time to run, move stops to break even again. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out. I'm not here to gamble at the moment. You know, when they pull the rug, they're going to pull it hard. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining. I do appreciate each and every single one of you. Always come here. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And let's see if we have a weekend pump. And then on Monday, we'll share what to do next. So that's it. Have a great day and cheers for now.